So on a recent episode you started off saying, if you're going to ask for $1 million, are you willing to invest $1 million into yourself? And I think that's kind of like revealing to some people when they think about, hey, I need to go raise money for this. Like, if you had the money, would you put your own money in? Like, when you thought about that and that's had a conversation, what is that, trying to get people to think about when they think about raising money?
Most people want to raise money because they don't want to be uncomfortable. They want to pay for their salary. They want to quit their job. They want to have some sort of comfort. Entrepreneurship is not comfortable. There's nothing you can do. There's no amount of money that's going to make you comfortable when you decide to be an entrepreneur. And I think that a lot of people have glamorized it because of social media. When you're thinking about raising money or you're thinking about growing your business, the real question is, how much does it cost to being this solution, to bring this solution to the world? And not cost because you need to pay yourself, but actually the cost of building the product, the cost of building a team, the cost of growing this thing for a solution to solve a problem. And notice I didn't say to bring this product to life or to
Yeah.
build your brand or do all this soft stuff. So many people run around the world with these beautiful decks and these beautiful websites. And then you ask them, well, how many people are using your product? And the answer is zero.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
stop that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, speaking to that, like, what does momentum look like in the early stages? Because I think so often we get caught up just doing a bunch of stuff, and you have, encouraged us to have a bias toward action. But like, how do we know that we are focusing on the right things? What does momentum look like?
Yeah, the game has changed. Momentum when I was first starting the company is completely different than now. People expect if you're going out to raise money, people expect your business to be break even or profitable. They expect that your product already has traction, and traction
Yeah,
means you already have users and customers that people are already transacting with you. So, gone are the days where you could just have a napkin and an idea and raise $500,000.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
over. Okay. And the reason it's over is because the cost of creating a company is so cheap now. Anybody can make a company. Anybody can file for a Delaware C Corp.
yeah.
Anybody can use AI to help build an MVP of a product. Or you don't even have to be able to code anymore to be able to build an app or bring a website to life. So the barrier to entry is so much lower.
Was it ever real for us? The napkin idea and raise a $500,000, $1 million.
I
For,
know one black guy who had a whiteboard and was very storytelling with the vibes and raised
wow,
money. I know one, maybe two people that were able to do that.
wow.
Yeah. So it is possible.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think about, because I watch a lot of your content, and if you're not following Morgan on Instagram, if you're not a part of her, channels, you need to get in there, especially if you are trying to scale a small business. But I think about, because I'm asking for a friend here. This is one of those asking for a friend questions. You talk about as quickly as possible moving from operating tasks to CEO tasks. And, I get that it's like working on your business and not in your business is how I translate that. If I want to be a craftsperson, then you're not talking to me. That's that person's, they want to own a job. But I'm not talking about, you're not talking about people who want to own a job. You want to own a business. But I think my question is like, what is the mindset shift that has to happen when you start something because maybe you're passionate about it, maybe you saw a market opportunity, but you find yourself doing a lot of the work and you would love to delegate tasks off, but there's a myriad of reasons why you feel like you can't.
Yeah. When I talk to most people, and when you look at small businesses in this country in general, the average small business has an employee of one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So most people are operating like solopreneurs. They don't have secondary contractors. They are self-employed and they're a solo entrepreneur. And the challenge with this is that your income, your revenue is completely capped by only what you can do, right? If you're in the services industry, it's only how much time do you have to deliver that service. If you are building a product, it's how much time do you have to go and fulfill that product. And that at some point can no longer scale. You only have 24 hours in a day. And for people to be able to get to the next level in their career and also to actually fulfill the dream of entrepreneurship, which is freedom
Yeah.
of time, freedom of not having to limit the amount of income you can make because of what your boss says the salary band is. If your real goal is freedom, then you can't operate and not spend time being strategic on how you're going to grow your business. So CEO task versus operating task is this framework that's really important. It basically helps you outline, how do I identify every single thing that I'm doing that technically somebody else could be doing? That's your operating task. So you're operating right now, you're filing the invoices, you're posting on social media, you're calling all the clients, you're doing every single little thing, filing the taxes in your work life or your personal life. You're picking up the kids, you're making dinner, you're doing all the things, you're doing your laundry. And then you have your CEO task, which are tasks that only you can do. Tasks that either bring you joy that you never want to give up, or tasks that are uniquely your responsibility as the CEO of your life or the CEO of your business. And so for someone like you, Will, that might be setting up the locations for your new events.
Yeah.
That might be setting the menu for your business, your restaurant. That might be deciding what guests come on this podcast. You're setting the strategy. Once you set the strategy, somebody else can execute the work. So the real question for small business owners and the real question for people who are listening to this is, well, I'm broke. How can I pay for somebody else to do the thing?
Yeah.
Well, AI, there's so many tools. There's so many apps. There's so many systems that exist to be able to take away some of that automation that you're doing manually and start to make it more efficient for you. So what tools can you use in order to be able to get that done? And then the next thing is, okay, what's your tribe? What are the people around you that you can start to delegate to? This might be your partner, this might be your husband, this might be your neighbor, this might be your mama. I don't really care. But get somebody else to do it. If you can't afford to
somebody else to do it, yeah.
Get somebody else to do it. Or you just drop the ball and you say, we're just not going to do these things.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You'll never, ever be able to grow your income and grow your revenue if you are the only person doing operating tasks. It just won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, you picked up one of them. There's 3 reasons I can think of as why people don't do it. Either is I can do it cheaper, but there's also I can do it better, or I can do it faster. Those are like 3 reasons why people don't delegate off those tasks. And from your perspective, why doesn't that message seem to resonate far enough with our community?
I mean, I think there's a lot of fear with, what if they get it wrong? Then I've lost money. I've lost time because I got to do the work anyways, or I lose money because I paid somebody else to do something. It didn't get done. Now I got to do it and I don't have the resources anymore. I messed up my cash flow. And I think that fear is what holds most people back, because they don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to be in a situation where they're doing somebody else's work when they're like, I should have just done it myself in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the challenge with that is that if you always have that mentality, if you're not ever willing to be in that uncomfortable zone where you are relying on somebody else to get something done, then you're never going to get to the next level. You're never going to get to the next level.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might need to learn how to hire better. You might be really bad at hiring. I was bad at hiring when I first started this company. I was not good at writing job descriptions and setting up the right interview structure or setting up the right onboarding. You're going to be bad at stuff. So I think more people need to get comfortable being bad at things.
Yeah. Yeah, you make me think about a comment. I was talking to a friend of mine who owns several businesses, wildly successful. And you make me think about, like, what if you are the secret sauce, though, in your business? Like, what if people buy partially, at least largely, because of you? And I think about, bringing it to, home for me, like with Toll House. My vision for Toll House, which is a private social club. We have 5 bars, 5 lounges, a coffee house, cigar lounge, jazz club, the whole co-working space, all that. And my vision was to build like the Soho House for communities that will never get a Soho House, like those nascent Midwestern communities who had the people and probably had the money, but would not be on Soho House's radar. And he said, part of the reason why this works in Toledo is because it's you doing it. And you don't necessarily scale to Indianapolis or Cincinnati, perhaps. And so I think about listening to you talk, like, what if you are the secret sauce? How do you then scale?
Well, if you're the secret sauce, then the question becomes, how do you save more time so that you're only doing the thing that is your secret sauce? So, what are the other things that Will Lucas is doing that you ain't got to do, that are your operating tasks, but you don't have somebody
Mm-hmm.
else doing them. So if you were only spending 40 hours a week doing your secret sauce, you could be traveling to Cincinnati, you could be traveling to Chicago, you could be doing all these other things, but you can't because you're sitting tied to a desk doing all these operating tasks. So
Are you watching me, bro? Like, no.
I'm just saying, like, my perspective is that, like, anything that people want to do, like, you can do whatever you want to do, but you have to be willing to delegate. You have to be willing to bring other people along in your journey because that is what is required to live an extraordinary life. Now, you want to be boring, you want to not grow, you want to do the same thing every single day, you want to be, tight on cash flow, you want to be trying to ask somebody for a 2% raise every 6 months, then stay where you are, but you probably aren't going to like me. You're definitely not going to like my book, Rewrite Your Rules.
Yeah, I guess that's a fundamental question. Like, who is the book for? Rewrite your own rules. Rewrite your rules.
Yeah,
Who's the book
I
for?
wrote this book, Rewrite Your Rules. Took me about 5 years to write it. And I wrote this book because I felt like I was meeting so many people who are at a crossroads, so many people who are doing really good. Like, they've got a lot going for themselves. They followed all the steps. They went to good schools. They got a great first job out of college. And now they're in their mid 30s or early 30s. And they're kind of like, how did I get here? And I can see the path forward and I don't like it. Like, I don't want to keep going down this path that I was set out on, whether because I just followed the momentum of what society was telling me I was supposed to be doing, but they feel like there's more for them and they're not sure how to make decisions to make sure that they don't keep going down that path. They're not sure what should happen first. Should I slow down a second and start dating seriously so that I can eventually find my match and have a kid? Should I quit my job and become a full-time entrepreneur, but then I take a big income hit and I've got responsibilities?
Mm-hmm.
Or should I get rid of not be a full-time content creator because it was booming and now I actually have no time. I'm working all the time just to make ends meet. And it was easier when I got a direct deposit every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Maybe I should go back to work, right? Like, there's just so many decisions that we're constantly making, and we're not using a system to help ourselves make the best decisions with the data and the infrastructure to feel confident with the decision that we're making. So this book is a tool to help you do that. This book is a tool to help you feel confident with the decisions that you're making so that you can literally have more joy and more freedom and enjoy the process that you're going through instead of all this anxiety around, am I making the right decision? All this indecision that happens because there are a lot of choices in this world today.
What did you learn differently when you started building more matcha versus when you were doing the journal? Like, I imagine there's things that you learned, like, I don't want to do that again, so I'm gonna do that differently doing this matcha.
Yeah, so I have so many failed businesses. The thing about failed businesses is that nobody ever sees them except for like the 5 customers that you had. Okay.
Yeah, I was a customer. I bought one.
Yeah, if you go to this warehouse, oh my God, I've wasted so much money shipping things from warehouse to warehouse in this country, just trying to reduce my overhead. But I've had so many failed businesses, I can't even mention them. So I had one journal company. So I thought that the world must have my journal, which was a mix of like a moleskin, but a slightly more structured. Okay. Yeah. And I felt like you had to have this. So I built it. It was printed in India. We paid all this money for this beautiful leather and all this stuff. Then my second field business was a skincare company called Emerose Essentials. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, again, this was like 7 years ago. I felt like skincare was the new frontier, that like, in the same way that Black girls were spending so much time and energy on our hair, that we were going to spend so much time and energy on our skin. And I wasn't wrong. That trend is true. And that has definitely come to fruition. I underestimated the amount of marketing that was attached to me as a person for the skincare business. And same thing for the journal. These weren't things that I was willing to constantly be on social media about. I wasn't going to wake up every morning and be like, look at my skincare routine. And I was like, I'm the freaking CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Like, I don't have time to be on Instagram in the morning showing you my skincare routine. Right? So that was the biggest thing. And then for more matcha, now it's nothing for me to wake up in the morning and make a matcha. Like that's actually within my workflow, right? Like it's easy to be like, hey, have a morning matcha with me and like let's talk about whatever, right?
Right.
Or like literally, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just part of my flow in a way that I don't mind having a camera on it. And you know, one thing when you're building a brand is you want it to be, you got to set the company culture and the brand equity. But I very quickly put a bunch of non-black people on the More Matcha Instagram page. I think back in
Hmm.
the day, I was just so black, militant, righteous. It was
Yeah.
like black, 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 black. It's gonna be a black skincare company. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
black, you know, notebook company. Well, more matcha, I'm like, I don't care if you're green, blue, tall, short. I do not care. We hired a cute little blonde girl to be in our videos,
Yeah.
tutorials. Like we're shipping it out to influencers all over the country, moms, everybody. You know, so I think that was the other thing is I changed my go to market and really said, like, let me get out of the way because I know myself and I don't want to be in front of a camera every day.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm like, again, I've been waiting for this episode for so long. I've like been building up these questions because I feel like I'm gonna tell you a problem that I have, and I
Mhm.
imagine a lot of people have this issue. It's like you hear people like you talk and solutions and things that you should stop doing, things you should start doing, and then my brain says is like, but there's nuance to my situation that her answer doesn't solve for. Like
Mhm.
there's always like, but they don't understand because this thing over here,
Right.
and so I wonder, like, what do you hear when I say that?
I just hear excuses. I mean, there's always going to be something that's special about somebody's scenario, but the fundamentals of business are always true. And the fundamentals of self development are always true. You're your biggest limitation for growth. The difference between Will Lucas today and Will Lucas who's got $10 million in cash in the bank is the same Will Lucas. So it's your brain.
Yeah.
It's your ability to think through problem solvings at a strategic level. It's your ability to bring other people with you so that they become problem solvers for you, right? Like that is the limitation, but it all starts with you. And that's why I'm in my Work Smart framework. The first module, the first thing that we talk about is you. It's like before we can go delegate to everybody else, what are you doing? Like, what does your calendar look like? If I
That's
looked
right.
at your calendar today, Will, and I said,
Oh,
Will,
you don't want to look at
no, I do. If
that.
I said, Will, what do you want to do? How much money do you want to make next year? This year?
Yeah.
How much money do you want to make this year? And what are your like deliverables for yourself? What are the things that you want to get done this year to put out into the world? And then I looked at your calendar and said, well, how are you spending your time? I can guarantee you they do not match.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
They don't match.
What's the biggest rule you had to rewrite for yourself, your own life?
I think the biggest rule I had to rewrite for myself was when I realized that nobody is grading me.
Mm.
Like, nobody is waking up in the morning and saying, you did a good job today. Nobody's waking up in the morning and say, you did a bad job at that today. Like, once you move out of college, there's no more like scaling grade scale where everybody has the same metrics of success.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to stop looking for external metrics of success. What do I mean by that? Like when you enter Silicon Valley, the metric of success is how much money do you raise,
Hmm.
right? When
Yep.
you enter into the workplace, especially in the time that I was there, it was who's getting the best jobs, who's getting the best internal mentors, who's getting the best products to work on, who's getting the coolest products to work on. Like it was constantly comparing to other people at your level to see, am I better than these people? In my cohort, am I the best?
Right.
It's all arbitrary. It's all bullshit. Like it doesn't matter. So once I stopped letting go this desire to be the best employee, I stopped caring and I started to do what I wanted to do. When I decided, wait, I don't need to keep raising money. Just because society in Silicon Valley is saying you got to keep raising money, you raise money and then you start raising your next round while you're raising your current round and you're hiring all these
Right.
people and you're burning through it and then you keep going and you keep growing. Once I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. I did what I needed to do. I protected the company. We have great investors. I've got the board governance. Let's build a good company. Let's build a profitable company. A profitable venture-backed company 5 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which was what was best for me and best
That's
for my
right.
employees and best for our community and best for our audience. Once I made that decision, the level of freedom that I had was just revolutionary and transformed my life, because then you start to make decisions differently when you're actually going for metrics that you deem as the definition of success. Then it completely alleviates all this stress that we all carry around with us to perform at a level that we don't even care about.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. Um, there's a description of the book where I'm going to quote this. It says, "Become the CEO of your life with this transformative guide to leaving hustle culture behind and creating a more sustainable, balanced definition of success."
Hmm.
And I think about that because I remember this tweet I saw. Somebody else was talking about hustle culture and grind culture and how that was bad, and et cetera. And this tweet said the only people that talk about hustle culture being bad and the grind culture being bad is the people who already made it.
Yeah.
And and I think about, I wanted to position that to you is because I've heard you talk about, like, look, you've got to figure out what works for your life. And Morgan's made it. Like, how do you respond to that?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say there's a difference between hustle culture and work hard. Hard work is necessary. Like putting hours in is necessary. Your 10,000 hours principle is a principle that I completely agree with. So I think there's a difference. Hustle to me is grind till you can't grind anymore.
Hmm.
Brute force it. Like push harder than everybody else around you. First in, last out.
Yeah.
Okay? That's hustle culture. Work hard is let me put my best effort in and be smart about how I'm doing that. So even if I'm able to get the same accomplishment, same outcome and deliverable as everybody else, but it took me 2 hours less, I reward myself for that hard work and the fact that I was strategic with my effort to get the same deliverable for less time. That's the challenge that I'm trying to encourage people to
Yeah.
reconsider. It's not about the amount of hours that you put in. It's about the deliverable. Even with my own employees, when someone's like, "I'm working so hard, I'm staying up all night, I'm doing this, doing that, I'm working on the weekends." I'm like, "Why? You shouldn't be.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
you shouldn't be. That doesn't appeal to me. You don't get brownie points for me." There used to be a time where I felt differently, where I measured my employee success partially by
Who's in office late?
who's working hard, from like a who's putting in the time in.
Yeah.
But I completely said, wait, screw that. I'm okay if Jeremiah over here takes 7 hours to do something, even though it took Susie over here 9 hours to do. That shows me Jeremiah has more potential and capacity. So let's reward Jeremiah for that and then ask Jeremiah, what else do you want to do? Right? And I think that is a fundamental shift that we all have to make, which is like there's no brownie points for literally burning yourself out and working all night, all day. And you don't get a badge of honor. That's actually a weakness.
There was this study the Small Business Administration put out some time ago, and I remember it vividly because it said 80% of Black-owned businesses are in the bottom 20% of categories for revenue generation. So we
Yeah.
over-index on landscaping, small restaurants, mom and
Services and
pop.
hospitality.
Exactly. We over-index on that. And, I'm interested in your thoughts on how we can think differently about that. How do we scale? And so I think about even barbershops, like there's no Black-owned Boricks or Supercuts. And I wonder why, because we have so many barbers and hairstylists in our community. What are we missing about that your message says, like, look, guys, there's a bigger opportunity out here?
I think we have a collaboration problem. I've acquired 3 companies in the last 10 years. And one of the reasons I was able to do that is because I view collaboration as a core, like, strategic advantage that I have to my peers. Why do we need 3 different barbershops who all maintain the same overhead of leases and payroll and insurance and equipment and HR systems? And there's a lot of overhead. 10 to 15% of a business's cost is just overhead that every single business has to have. If you're all one company, then it's that same HR person for the whole company, right? It's the same creative team for the whole company. At Blavity, it's the same talent team for the whole company. So we're able to get economies of scale because we decided to collaborate and bring other businesses in underneath the Blavity Inc. portfolio. And that has allowed us to then spend more time doing our CEO task and less time doing the operating tasks. So if all those barbershops were able to say, you know what, I'm going to set my ego aside. It doesn't need to be called JoJo's Barbershop and Becky Q's Barbershop and da-da-da Barbershop. We're going to just be called Black Barbershop. Okay? And we're going to have 3 Black barbershops in this entire city. And each one is going to be run by JoJo and them. But the back end administrative work is going to be centralized. How much more money could they have? How much more cash flow could they have? And also time, because you don't have 3 barbers trying to figure out how to run a business when they set out to be good barbers.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, one of the challenges, is that it requires collaboration. Black folk, we love to collaborate on everything else. We collaborate at church. We collaborate on carpools. We collaborate on meals, family dinner. We collaborate on funerals. We collaborate on weddings. We collaborate on so many things, fraternities, sororities. We are good at ruling by committee. We are good at coming together. But something about business, there's not that many Black acquisitions happening and Black mergers. And I think that has to do with ego.
What do you say to people who have multiple interests? They got multiple things going on. When you are trying to advise them in how to, still live a balanced life in some way, but I have so many interests.
I think there's a difference between interests, hobbies, passions, and things that make you money. So in the book, we have this framework that I live by and I encourage people to live by, which is the 6 pillars of life. The 6 pillars of life, at any given point, you can only be optimizing 3 of them. So the 6 pillars are money, stability, right? So money is, are you making enough money to do the things that you want to do when you want to do them? Stability is, do you feel stable? Like, are you in a place where you feel grounded? And if not, you need to focus on that. These 2 things are kind of your foundational pillars. If one of them is off, then you got to fix one of them. The next one is wellness. Do I feel good doing the things that I'm doing every day? Do I mentally, physically, spiritually, do I feel good? The next one's relationships. Do I like the people around me? Am I spending time with people that I care about? Do I have a partner? Do I have the family that I want? Do I have the friends, the church community that I want? Okay. Then there's passions. Am I doing things just for me? Right? For me, it's painting. For others, it might be skiing. It might be all types of stuff. Okay. And the last one is freedom. Are you the boss of you, or is somebody else the boss? If you want to pick up and travel the world, can you do that? Like, how much freedom do you have in your life? Are you an independent person, or are you ruled by the systems, the society, the people around you? And freedom is one of those things that I think a lot of us, inherently, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to have more control over what we say and what we do.
Yeah.
And between those 6, you can only, again, focus on 3. And they change at different seasons of your life. When you first maybe are having kids, and then your relationships, your stability, and your money, which means you have no freedom. You're not leaving the house at 7 o'clock to go to the bar with the boys because you're focused on your 3 things. Maybe you're not able to make it to your gym class, go work out like you usually work out and do 2-hour workouts on a Saturday because you're focused on your family, right? There's going
Yeah,
to be other
yeah.
seasons where you're like, I'm trying to get this promotion and I'm grinding super hard. So you're on money because you really want to get to the next level because you want to be your own boss, your freedom. And then, yeah, maybe that means you are missing a couple of dinners. You are missing so and so's birthday party. You are missing so and so's wedding because you're really focused on your goal. At any given season, these things are going to change. And the question is just being able to audit your life and say, wait, have my pillars changed? And I just didn't explicitly change my behavior to match them, which is why I'm feeling resentment and I'm feeling frustrated.
So that's super good. I'm thinking about no, there. I'm gonna use a sports analogy, which I shouldn't
Yeah.
do, but there is, you can tell a great athlete by if they make the people around them better.
Hmm.
Not only are they doing great things, but the people around them are. And when I think about you, like you are that person. You've been that person for me. You've been that person for other people who I know who are around you, and people make more money when they hang around Morgan DeBaun. They have more all of these things when they hang around Morgan DeBaun. And how should we then audit our circles? Because not everybody can hang around Morgan DeBaun. So how should we audit our circle, with an unbiased view of like, look, I know I like hanging around you, but this is probably not a wise investment of my time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a chapter in the book around people and the people in your life and the difference between mentors and advisors, right? So I'm a lot of people's advisor. I'm your advisor, right?
Yeah.
You want to make more money? You call me. For a lot of people, I'm their chief revenue officer as well. Like, you want to make more money? I'm gonna tell you, hell no, you still got to do the work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you got to surround yourself. If your personal life doesn't have those people who are motivating you and helping you get to the next level, that's okay. This I don't believe that everybody around you has to be transactional or add value to your life in that way. I'm actually completely cool with it. So all this social media that's like audit your friends. Your friend circle is a reflection of how big. I don't believe that. I think that's bullshit. Not everybody in your life has to be adding value to you.
Yeah, yeah.
You can hire and find advisors who can help you get to the next level. An advisor is someone who's already done it. And your advisors may be a podcast. Your advisors may be my book. Your advisor may be YouTube channels, right? Like, there's so many free resources and cheap resources for you to solve a problem that you have from experienced people who've already done it. Experienced people who've already done it. I'm not talking about these people selling online courses where the biggest business they've ever run is the business that they're running on you.
The online course, yeah.
Okay.
They're out there.
So they are out there everywhere. So you really got to be careful trying to evaluate everybody in your life against what do they provide back to me. I think that it's important to not make everybody in your life responsible for your own development. You're responsible for your development. You're responsible for your growth. You're the person who's in the driver's seat of your life. So just like when I'm the CEO, if I have a deficit because I'm a bad people manager, it's not my employee's job to make me a better people manager. It's my job to go find the resources, to go find the executive coaches, to go read the books and become a better people manager. It's the same thing in your personal life.
I'm going to ask an EDC question, an everyday carry question. Like, what is in Morgan's everyday carry? What are the things that you've got to have access to, tools, software, things that you need within an arm's reach to help you be successful day to day?
The only thing I need is this, my mobile phone. That's the only thing I need. And the reason for that is there's literally times where I'm like, I don't even want to see a computer today. Like, I used to date a guy who literally, I don't even think he owned a computer, but he ran probably like 2 or 3 multi-million-dollar businesses, a huge venture fund. And I just was fascinated. I was like, you don't make decks? Like you don't look at Excel spreadsheets? Like, you don't need to get in there and change some numbers or something? Like, he was like, I have an iPad. Like, if I need to do something, like, I'll do it on an iPad, but there's somebody else who's like doing the grunt work, and then I am tweaking the things. Mm-hmm. And this was very early on in my career, so I wasn't at a point where I had that much freedom.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Freedom was not one of my pillars at the time, but it was aspirational for me to say, wow, I have that much freedom that I'm no longer dictated by a device to get my work done, to be able to produce content, produce value, to be able to talk to my employees. And so I've really created a system even at Blavity where I'm like, if you work for me, you don't send me emails.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
like Slack me or nothing.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Don't call me. Don't text me. You're not going to get texts from Morgan DeBaun. You're not going to get phone calls from Morgan DeBaun. Slack me, bro.
Yeah.
Even when we have vendors or partners like the Gathering Spot and Blavity are working on something, I'm like, Ryan, you got Slack? Okay, cool. Join Slack channel. Now there's a Gathering Spot, Blavity, join Slack channel.
Yeah.
Okay, Slack is my headquarters. We're fully remote. But I can do everything from my phone. So that's the only tool I need. This can make you a millionaire. Right here.
It's a fact.
Straight on your phone. You don't have to have all this crazy equipment. And that's just going back to fundraising. That is the reason why just making money is now a new requirement for raising money, because it's so easy.
What does success look like for you now? And how has that definition changed for you over time?
You know, I think it's tough to talk about success for me now because I really have hit every dream that I've ever wanted for myself in a lot of different ways. And so there's actually a part of me that's going through an exercise of pushing myself to take more risk because I am so comfortable and I am so happy and I am so fulfilled. I wake up every day and I say, ooh, it feels good to be me. Okay. It feels so good to be me. And I want that for everybody listening to this.
100%.
That you have that level of contentment in your life where you're like, ooh, yeah, no, I do not want to trade with anybody else. I feel good. I like the choices that I make every day. I like the things I stress about. The things I stress about, they're not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying I don't have hard days. I'm not saying there's not times when I look at Blavity's P&L and I say, oh man, we made some mistakes here. We overspent here. We could have pushed this harder. We could have hit these different goals. I have all of those things, but I feel really good about how we operate. I feel good about my leadership team. I feel good about the fact that everybody's marching towards a mission that matters. I feel good about the fact that I wake up every day and I can decide what I want to wear, not because of how people are going to judge me as a Black founder or Black female CEO, but because of what I want to wear today and how I want to present myself, right? I feel good about the things I think about. And I think that is the truest definition of success for anyone. How do you get there? For some people listening to this, that's so far away from where they are. They're waking up every day dreading going into work that day. They're waking up today feeling like, I'm so freaking cold. Why do I live here? You're waking up in the morning and you're just like, I'm exhausted. Did I even sleep? Like, I'm mentally exhausted and I just woke up. You got to fix that. You got to like lean into that tension and fix whatever the root is, the issue, whatever that root issue is. You got to fix that. You don't have to live that way.
April 1st, rewrite your rules, the journey to success in less time with more freedom. Morgan DeBaun, such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Will. Everybody, I look forward to hearing how this book transforms your life and, you know, what things you discover about yourself along the way. My hope is that you use this as a tool to be able to make these decisions and to move quickly so that you can have more joy and more freedom.